Ever get that feeling like there's a pattern behind all the craziness? Like there's some hidden logic to, well, everything.
Yep.
Maybe there is.
Oh, interesting.
Today we're going deep, and I mean deep,
Okay.
into power,
Okay.
persuasion, and even comic book reboots.
Wow.
We're going to mash up some serious academic theory of pop culture. Get ready for some aha moments.
Sounds fun.
Our guide for this deep dive.
Well, it might seem a little out there, but we're looking at Kenneth Burke's A Rhetoric of Motives.
A Rhetoric of Motives.
Yeah. Specifically part 7, where he makes these crazy connections between rhetoric, the actions people take, and, get this, motivation.
So we're going to figure out what makes people tick.
Exactly.
And to illustrate all of this, we're going to apply it to, well, you ready for this?
Yeah.
The world of DC Comics and Superman.
You know, it's funny, Burke's work is all about how people are influenced, like how they're persuaded to do things.
Yep.
And you see those same dynamics in, well, everywhere, really. Even in the stories we make up, you know?
Okay, let's kick things off with a key concept from Burke. It's called the scene-act ratio.
Oh.
It sounds kind of technical.
Yeah, a little bit.
But stick with me. It's simpler than it sounds.
It is. Think of it this way. Imagine you're getting dressed in the morning, right?
Okay.
The scene is like the weather outside. If it's raining, you're going to grab a raincoat, maybe some boots.
That makes sense.
That's your act. The scene, it shapes what you do. See?
I see.
Now, Burke, he takes this idea and he applies it to, well, to power, to like political power. He says that the way a ruler acts is shaped by the political situation they're dealing with.
Oh, I get it. Like, okay, so like a king who's facing a rebellion.
Right.
He's going to act way differently than a king who's chilling out during peacetime.
Exactly. It's all about context.
But how does this apply to a fictional character like Superman? I mean, he's not exactly a king, but he deals with some pretty intense situations.
Right. Well, even though it's a made-up scene, Superman's world is like constantly under threat. There are always bad guys trying to take over or destroy stuff.
Sure.
And he's the symbol of hope
Right.
in a world that really needs it.
Yeah.
That context that shapes everything he does. I mean, imagine if Superman lived in a peaceful utopia. He'd probably just be like helping cats out of trees all day, right?
It's like the scene sets the stage. You know, it kind of forces the character to act in a certain way. But hold on.
Yeah.
Doesn't the character's personality play a role too? Like, Superman's a good guy, like, inherently. It's in his nature.
Oh, absolutely. That's where we get to Burke's agent-act ratio. This one focuses on how someone's character, the agent, shapes what they do.
So it's not just the situation, it's also who they are, like, deep down.
Exactly. It's both. The situation and the person.
Oh, I know a perfect example from the comics. It's that whole Superman red and Superman blue thing.
Oh, yeah. That's a great one. In that story, Superman, he splits into two beings.
Yeah, and they're total opposite. Right.
You got red Superman, who's all impulsive and action-oriented.
Yeah.
And then there's blue Superman, who's all cautious and thoughtful, always thinking things through.
Exactly. It's like this classic example of opposing forces. You know, in rhetoric, they call it a dialectic. They represent two totally different ways of approaching things, each driven by their agent characteristics, like who they are at their core.
Okay, so we've got the scene shaping the action and the agent shaping the action. But now things get really interesting with Burke's idea of consubstantiation.
Ah, yes, consubstantiation. This one's a bit of a head-scratcher, but hang in there. Burke's saying that it's about things coming together to form like a unified whole.
Okay.
He uses this to explain how, like rulers, how they try to create a sense of shared identity with the people they're ruling.
Wait a minute. This reminds me of something. DC Comics and their constant reboots.
Reboots.
Yeah, you know, like Crisis on Infinite Earths, the New 52.
Yeah.
All those big events that kind of shake things up and reset the universe. Oh, I see what you mean. It's like after years of all these complicated storylines, you know, maybe some contradictions and stuff.
Right, exactly.
These big events, they're like an attempt to unify everything.
It's like hitting a giant reset, buddy.
Yeah, exactly. Like saying, okay, let's make all of this make sense again.
Right. So it's not just about making the story easier to follow.
No.
It's also about keeping those characters fresh and relevant.
Yeah.
connecting with readers in a new era.
You got it. It's about changing with the times. And you know what? That ties right into the whole idea of kairos in rhetoric.
Kairos.
Yeah, it's all about timing.
Like knowing when to make your move.
Exactly. Or, when to deliver a killer argument. And it applies to reboots, too.
Oh, okay. So a well-timed reboot can revitalize a whole franchise.
Exactly. Just like a leader who acts at the right moment is more likely to succeed.
Wow, this is incredible. Never thought about Superman comics this way.
It's a whole new perspective, right?
It's like seeing the same story with, like, new eyes.
Yeah, it is. And we're just getting started. You see, Burke, he argues that meaning itself, like how we understand things, is the foundation of all this persuasion stuff, all this rhetoric.
So the way we interpret something determines how persuasive it is to us.
Yes. He uses this idea of like infancy in understanding. Think about when you encounter something totally new and complex, like a comic book universe with decades of history, or even like a new political situation.
Oh, I get it. It's like when you pick up a comic book series in the middle and you have no clue what's going on, all those characters, all that backstory, it's overwhelming.
Exactly. You're like an infant in terms of your knowledge. But as you read, as you learn, you grow up in your understanding. You start to see the bigger picture.
So rhetoric, it helps us make sense of all that complicated information.
It does. It guides us through that process of understanding. And that's where the real power of it lies. It's not about manipulating people or winning arguments. It's about understanding what drives us, the forces that shape our world.
Wow, we've gone from Superman to political power to like the essence of persuasion itself.
It's all connected.
This deep dive is blowing my mind.
We're just scratching the surface. Burke's ideas can help us understand so much, from political speeches to advertising.
In your own lives.
Exactly.
This is incredible. Can't wait to see where we go next.
There's so much more to explore, but let's just take a moment to kind of process all this. We've covered a lot of ground.
Yeah, we have.
And there's still so much to discover about this whole rhetoric thing, and how it pops up in the most unexpected places.
It's amazing how, like, Kenneth Burke's ideas can help us understand, like, political power and even comic book reboots.
Yeah.
But what really blows my mind is how we can use this stuff to understand our own lives.
Our own lives.
Yeah, like the choices we make every day.
Oh, absolutely. It's all about recognizing the interplay of factors that influence every decision we make, Every action we take, like we talked about the scene, right? The context of our lives, that plays a huge role.
Yeah.
But then we also have our own personal values, our beliefs, our inner agent, so to speak.
Right.
That guides our actions too.
So it's like this push and pull between the situation we're in
Right.
and who we are deep down.
Exactly. And let's not forget the element of persuasion, the rhetoric that shapes how we see the world.
Wait, are you saying that Burke's ideas can help us make, like, better decisions?
They can. By understanding those forces at play, we can become more aware, more intentional with the choices we make. Like, imagine you're facing a tough decision at work. Maybe you're thinking about taking on a new project.
Okay, yeah.
Or pushing for a change in, like, company policy.
Big decisions.
Right. So using Burke's concepts, you'd start by analyzing the scene. What's the situation at work right now? What's the company culture like? Are there any, like, potential risks or rewards?
It's like doing a SWOT analysis
Yeah.
before making a move.
You got it. And then think about your own agent qualities, your skills, your values, your comfort level with, taking risks. Are you someone who loves a challenge? Or do you prefer, like, stability? Knowing yourself, that helps you figure out if this project, this decision, aligns with your strengths and your goals.
So it's not just about what's going on around us. It's about knowing ourselves
Right.
and what we bring to the table.
Exactly. And finally, think about the rhetoric you'll need. How are you going to persuade others to support your ideas? What kind of language, what arguments are going to resonate with your audience? It's all part of the equation.
This is starting to feel like a superpower or something. Like, by understanding these concepts, we can navigate those tricky situations with more clarity and purpose.
I love that analogy. Burke's ideas, they really do give us this amazing framework, for understanding how persuasion and action work. They empower us to become better communicators, better decision makers.
Okay, let's bring this back to Superman for a minute. Yeah, how do all these ideas show up in the world of comics?
Well, think about how comic book creators use rhetoric to, like, shape our understanding of the characters and their stories. They create a specific scene, right, this fictional universe with its
Okay.
own history
Yeah.
and rules, and they develop the characters' personalities and motivations, their agent qualities,
Right, right.
and then they use like dialogue, narration, even visuals
Yeah.
to persuade us to care about what's happening in that world.
So the comic book creators, they're like master rhetoricians.
They are. They're using these techniques to fire up our imaginations and make us believe in these fantastical worlds.
And we as readers, we're part of that exchange.
We are. We're interpreting those stories. We're making judgments about the characters. We're
Wow.
forming our own opinions about what's happening.
This is making me realize that rhetoric is like everywhere. It's not just in political speeches or academic papers.
No.
It's in the stories we consume, the conversations we have, like every day.
You're absolutely right. Rhetoric is woven into the fabric of our lives.
Wow.
And by becoming more aware of its presence, we can start to understand its power
Yeah.
and even use it to our advantage.
So what's the big takeaway here? What do you hope like our listener will get out of this?
I want them to see that rhetoric isn't some like complicated academic theory.
Right.
It's a fundamental part of how we interact as humans.
It's how we connect.
Exactly. And by learning to recognize and analyze the rhetoric around us, we can become more critical thinkers, more effective communicators, more empowered individuals.
It's like we're giving our listener this secret decoder ring to help them understand the world.
I love that. Yeah, with that decoder ring, they can unlock a whole new level of insight and understanding.
This deep dive has been so eye-opening. I've learned so much about rhetoric, about Superman,
Right.
about myself even.
It's amazing how it all connects, isn't it?
It is. But I have this feeling there's like even more to uncover.
You're right, there is. We still need to explore one more crucial piece of Burke's framework, the concept of mystery in rhetoric.
Ooh, that sounds intriguing. I'm ready to go deeper.
Well, we can't leave our listener hanging. Let's dive into this concept of mystery and unravel the final layer of Burke's brilliant ideas.
Okay, so mystery in rhetoric. Lay it on me.
It's kind of like, well, Burke argues that some things about being human,
Yeah.
they'll always be a little unknowable, no matter how hard we try to analyze them to
yeah.
explain them.
Yeah.
There's always going to be that question mark hanging over things.
So even with all our logic, all our reasoning,
Yeah.
we can never fully solve the puzzle.
Exactly. And you know what? This mystery, it can actually be a powerful tool in rhetoric.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Think about stories that leave us with unanswered questions, or like political campaigns that hint at hidden agendas.
Yeah.
Even advertising, they use mystery all the time to grab our attention,
Right.
make us curious.
It's like a cliffhanger at the end of a TV show. You got to know what happens next.
Exactly. And this goes back to Burke's idea of infancy and understanding, you know. When we encounter something new and mysterious, we're kind of like infants
Okay.
in our knowledge of it. And as we explore, as we analyze, we start to grow up in our understanding, so to speak.
Yeah.
But there's always going to be that little bit of mystery left over.
So it's not about getting rid of the mystery altogether.
No.
It's about embracing it, like
Yeah.
as part of the learning process.
You got it. The mystery, it keeps us curious. It drives us to keep searching for those answers. It fuels our desire to learn, to grow.
You know, this makes me think about those big cosmic events in the DC universe, like Crisis on Infinite Earths.
Oh, yeah. Good one.
There's so much power and mystery surrounding those events. It's like you've glimpsed something, well, something beyond human comprehension.
Exactly. Those events, they really capture our fascination with the unknown, with those forces that shape our world, both real and imagined.
They remind us that there are things we just might never fully understand.
Exactly. And that's okay. It's part of what makes life so interesting.
This deep dive has been incredible. We've explored rhetoric, we've talked about superheroes,
Yeah.
and somehow it all feels connected now.
It is. It really is. That's the amazing thing about Burke's work. It gives us this framework for understanding how persuasion, action, and motivation show up in everything.
So as we wrap things up here, is there one big question you want our listener to think about?
Yeah. I want them to think about a time when they had to persuade someone
Yeah.
or make sense of a really complex situation.
Mm.
How did the scene influence what they did? Were they more like red Superman, acting impulsively,
Right.
or blue Superman, thinking everything through carefully?
Great question.
And what role did mystery play in their understanding of that situation?
Ooh, that's a good one. Keep exploring, keep questioning. You'll start to see that hidden rhetoric everywhere. And that is the power of taking a deep dive.